I'm here with Stephen Gray, first place winner of the Demon Rush Championship Series, and today we're going to get his deck profile, his Rene control deck, as he explains his choices that led him to victory.
Absolutely. I'm going to start with the spells. So I actually found out the day of the tournament that this was already a named deck of Rene control. I didn't know it at the time. Cat control, Rene control, that a few things, but I made this with the help of a few of my buddies, and this is what I came down with was as the best deck of what I thought in Demon Rush, but we'll see. So I'm playing the three Contradict as the staple. This is the only card in the deck that actually this is the only card in the game that actually does Contradict. That counters spells really. So this is like a staple 3 of. If you don't play 3 of these, you're probably not going to win a lot of games. And then we've got 3 body obstruction. The body obstruction is really, really important to deal with some of the greater beings from evil, as well as C. Pasley. This is another one of the staples. I don't think you can play a Demon Rush deck without at least 3 body obstruction. Almost everything activates when it enters the board, so it's 2 mana, just soft removal for literally any creature in the game. And then I'm playing the 3 Exodus. Originally, the goal was to play 2, but I didn't have an extra sleeping potion. I do now, so maybe this comes down to 2, and I run 2 and 2. But at this time, this is another kind of soft removal. I was pretty low on this card originally when I was first going through all the Demon Rush cards. I guess my logic was it's not as good as hard removal, like Body Obstruct or maybe some other cards I'll talk about today, but Exodus itself, kind of blinking out creatures, bringing it back, and then letting you just run over it because of the permanent negate is I think it's really strong.
Few questions about Exodus.
Sure.
You said you would run 2 and 2. You take 1 out for a sleeping. Was the main goal of it really because you guys practiced a lot with Rene's and it was a really good out to Rene, or was it just because you didn't have sleeping?
So it's a pretty good out to Rene, for sure. I found that maybe not a lot of the Holy players were on Rene, so I was a little... I don't know if it's necessarily for that. It's definitely for So Arcog is one thing. Because we didn't have sleepings, the greater beings, it's really important to have the negate for the greater beings. But I don't want to destroy the greater beings because they're just going to replace their mana, at least in Holy. So this is essentially a extra copy, a little bit more expensive copy of sleeping, to the point where I can blink them out, let them come back, and then just run over them on my turn, where hopefully they can't use that mana.
Yeah, I mean, many of the top decks were running 3 Exodus, so I think it's probably super important.
It's funny, though, because the top lists that are running 3 Exodus were all inside, 3 of them were inside my play group, so we were all just kind of recognizing that we didn't have access to sleeping and overcompensating on the Exodus just to make sure that we didn't just get blown out by some 10 drop that we couldn't answer or negate efficiently. Because if you leave up 3 mana and you have a greater being dropped on you and you spend 2 to contradict it, you go down to 1 mana and then they have all their mana back and then they just start playing and you have nothing for it. It's you're gonna lose. There's no way around it. Whereas if you leave up 3 with this, you can blink it out and then their turn ends. It's essentially time walking them, and that's the way that I look at it, is just turn skipping them and hoping that on my crackback I can at least kill it with my bodies and then keep playing the game. The permanent negate is super relevant. C. Pasley, if I sleeping a C. Pasley, that just deals with it right there, that for that turn, and then they pass back to me, and everything still dies anyways. So, in that case, obviously this is super good. I'm actually not of the opinion that sleeping is even good against evil, for my list at least. Maybe it's good for, some of the lists that play bigger creatures, but because I'm so low to the ground, my sleeping's never getting value, because I'm either sleeping 1 creature, which is the same as, just using hard removal, or I'm sleeping, another creature, and my creature's still low enough to the point where they're attacking over it anyways, so it never really gets that value. So even in that case, I'll pay the extra 2 mana for the Exodus, and 9 times out of 10 I have the mana for it. I'm not passing with 1 mana, and if I am, I'm I've got some tricks up my sleeves for sure. Staple 3 Ancient Coin. I don't think that you can not play 3 Ancient Coin in Holy. I don't think there's really much else to say about that. I will say I am playing 3 Forgotten Coin. This card's a little bricky. I think that it's cool because like if you top it, you're getting access to Rene, you're getting access to God Jacob, you're getting access to maybe a Godfrey. There are a few things you can do with this, but it's always good. But like if I'm opening multiple and I'm not seeing any creatures, you can definitely run into an issue there. I think that if I still had Sword of the Champion, I would probably cut a Forgotten Coin down actually for that sword, because arguably like I'm still getting the 2 value. I definitely want to see it. But like a sword in this place to
I'm pretty sure Colin lost a couple games because he would just open like 2-3 coin with no soldiers and just bricked up.
yeah, it's an issue. Thankfully, I didn't run into the issue at all during the tournament. But it has run an issue in testing, where I'll just get no creatures or I'll get like all creatures and no spells. But that's just variance. It's just how things go.
It's like late game top deck is so insanely strong though.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to be able to at least see this within my top like 7 or 8 cards, so that's why I play 3. Maybe if I cut it down to 2, I don't see it as often and it feels bad. But the creatures it recurs are insane. So like I don't even care. Like every creature this recurs is always going to be like I can hear a sigh from my opponents whenever I recur like a Jacob, even a Rene. Yeah, even Rene they out it, they spend their whole turn outing it, and I just Forgotten Coin it back, replay it, and it's like I committed what? 2 mana for Sorin, 2 mana for the Rene, and like so in 4 mana I've just like thwarted their whole turn. Yeah. So next is 3 Divine. Divine is kind of the same logic as the Triple Exodus. Didn't have access to 3 Sleeping, and Divine's the next best thing. It doesn't kill creatures, which is great, but it's also versatile in the fact that like if they're trying to kill one of my creatures, I can divine it back, or if they interact with my church, I can again divine it back for free.
So versatile.
Yeah,
Handle any situation almost.
yeah. This is like it's goofy, but like if you don't have sleepings and you still play this, like it's fine. Like in Evil, they don't really have access to a 1 mana like super like versatile card, so they have to play Sleeping. But like in Holy, I mean, if you can't get them, this is fine. It's not like a perfect solution. Ideally, you want to play both, but like card's still good. I'm in a 44 card deck right now anyway, or 43 right now. 44 after the fact. I do add another card later on. So 3 Church, again, you're going to hear this a lot, but it's a Holy staple. I don't think you can play Holy without this card. The logic is that when you're playing against Holy and you have this card, you're winning when your opponent doesn't. If you're playing against Holy and you don't have this card, you're losing. It's mandatory in the Holy matchup. It's literally impossible to play the matchup without it. Like, if your opponent doesn't play it and you don't play it, sure, I guess in that logic it's not mandatory. But, like, that just means that it is mandatory because they put it in their deck to have advantage over you.
So what about like, okay, so the big one was all Holy players have been running Tower, especially to help with C. Pasley, and you guys obviously didn't run it. So why don't you explain the thinking behind no Tower?
Yeah, absolutely. So my logic with Tower is that you generally play Tower. It's 5 mana. It gives your hero and all of your creatures plus 2 power. It's good at countering C. Pasley, but a lot of my creatures that you'll see later are like low enough to the point where like that 2 power isn't going to matter. And with my sideboard, I essentially am instead of using structures to offset those powerful creatures, I'm just playing more copies of hard removal that have otherwise been overlooked, to kind of like 1-for-1 off of those creatures. So
Did you main 2 chains, or you sided?
I did, yeah. Nope, they're still in the main. Yep. So yeah, real quick, I'll just finish up with the spells and then I'll go to the creatures and we'll explain the logic there. But yeah, no Church. I was only playing 1 for a little bit, or no, sorry, no, was it Babel? Tower of Babel? I was playing 1 for a little bit. It just felt bad. I play it for 5 mana. It gets interacted with, and I pretty much have to pass because my deck is just removal.deck. So if I'm spending 5, it gets removed. It's like I would rather have it. Yeah, I would rather have it not turn skipped me. And then because I can't develop a creature, I can't Sorin because I need to leave at least enough up to like deal with the board and then have it come back to me. The whole deck's purpose is to just make sure I always have a turn coming back to me. And if I'm losing the game, you can usually tell because I've got no cards in hand and no board. Like it's a very obvious. Oh, I'm in a losing condition, but normally I'm not. Most of the time, I'm always in a winning condition.
Every time I came over, you had like 5-6 cards in your hand. It was just
Yeah.
it was so hard to get you down on cards. I felt like.
It's value in weird ways, and there'll be times where like I'll get blown out in a turn, but I'll choose to like save removal to like make sure that my next turns are more solid. Like I'll let people kill my Jacobs all day if I know that I have one or I can get one back. I'm not really too invested in my soldiers as long as I get another turn. So 3 prayer beads again. It's mandatory.
Okay, now here's a question about prayer beads. So you would think you would want to run prayer beads at 40 cards, so you're essentially running 37.
Uh-huh.
43. Why not just cut it and run 40 cards?
So it's actually funny. So my in a lot of talking with my buddies, they were using this on their turn and their opponent's turn. I think the best like opening play personally is like playing Jacob, playing a prayer beads back, and it's like, and then doing it on their turn. It's essentially +4ing me Imperium on their turn, so that first turn I can interact with it super strong. That's like the goal. I was actually off this card originally, and all of my buddies were like, "This is literally Upstart Goblin. It's the best. Like it's mandatory." And I didn't see it at first, but as I played with it more, I definitely folded into that. I agree. If I only have one, I'm always using it on, like, I'm never using it turn 0. Like, if I'm playing turn 0, I'm not using it to deck thin. I'm using it to get that 2 extra Imperium. That's, like, the big thing. So, like, I play the Church. This is free. There's no reason to not play this. Yeah, exactly. And like, when this resolves, it's like an extra Sorin. Or like sometimes I'll be down to like 3 mana, and if I prayer beads, I'll go down to 2, and then obviously back up to 4, and it'll put me on, instead of having 1 removal interaction, now I have 2. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not always using it just to deck thin. I'm using it. It's doubling over. I mean, the 40 card count is helpful. This is essentially taking me from 43 to 40, so it is helpful in that regard. But my deck already thins super well anyways, like with Cat, with Wolf, like Jacob, Coins, Sorin just by himself. Like, my deck is, if you look at it, it's really probably like a 30 card deck. Like, I'm just cycling through the same cards.
If you go like Wolf turn 1 and search all 3, and then you start prayer beadsing, like you're thin your deck so fast from all like the junk, and then your prayer beads start hitting the power cards. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. So another cool thing is that because my deck is like mostly cantrips. Okay, so the 1 sleeping potion, me and my buddies didn't get more than 2 between all 3 of us. Actually, between all 4 of us, we had a 4th player in our circle that was testing. I was on Holy, Talk was on Holy, the other 2 were on Evil, so we had a good diverse spread. Essentially, long story short, we got to Talk and I decided to split the 2 into 1 and 1, and I just let him use it because we thought that we needed it, and I don't think other than negating, I don't think that the creature stuff ever came up. I don't think that we ever got value with like sleeping a creature and winning a trade, just because people are playing around it. You know what I mean? It's been around the block a little bit, and everyone's playing around sleeping. So I guess it's not necessary. 3.
You know what? We don't actually have to re-record this because I'll just get some of this footage.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you're good.
I can use the audio and just overlay it.
Okay. No worries. All right, so the 1 Amoros, I touched on this already. We never play this creature. We essentially just draw and discard it off of the Sorin always. You can play the creature if you see it late game. Like if you don't see it for a while and you finally see it and it's like, oh, this might be the nail in the coffin, you can play it. If you have like a Church, there's no reason not to play it. You keep the 2 mana up, you play it. But 9 times out of 10, it's just discarding. 3 Jacob. This is the king of the deck. Jacob control, Rene control, Cat control, whatever you want to call it. It's control. This guy loops back all your good spells. If they have a If they have a C Passley, you'll essentially play him for 3 mana. They'll C Passley will trigger to lower his power. You chain him for 3, targeting a body, targeting a cosmic. 2 cats. I was on 3 cats. 5 copies of Jacob and 5 copies of Wolf. And I guess 3 copies of Dorn. I had 6. I bricked on this a lot. This card never dies. People hate this card. They don't want to kill it. They don't want to kill it because they know that it leads to this, but they also don't want to like let it live because it's just going to start chipping into them. Evil players love this card because they can run into it with like Ghost or Bone Mac. But yeah, they can just get value off of it. I actually love when they do that because generally when they're doing that, it means that they've had enough of this card, and I can just like use soft removal. So there have been times where like I'll let the ghost kill it, and then I'll body the ghost on the draw, and it's like it removes that and it gets me my search. So it's like it's arguably like it's a +1 because I'm outing their stuff while also getting the draw. So it's nice. I guess it's a break even actually now that I think about it because it's 1 plus the body. But regardless, I put the Dorn in. The Dorn, let me get rid of the wolf. This is staple Holy. I think that if you're not playing wolves in Holy, you're doing something wrong. It's literally, if you open a wolf, it's like almost always a +1 on your hand.
Right, you get ultra premium wolves and cats.
I do. I actually do. I actually kind of want them, so I am definitely going to be playing for that. So the Dorn was for the 1 Pavana. This one's so goofy. So like if I see Pavana, it's like I just discarded off Sorin. I'm like never paying 7 mana for Pavana ever. I'm literally just using it as a Sorin coin. And then if Cat dies later, and I see a Dorn line where I'm like, this sticks, or if I have the Contradict to protect it, it's like this is just too good to not play in the deck.
Pavana with contradict is nasty.
Yeah, for sure. And like if there have been turns where like I'll Jacob and they won't do anything, and I'm like, okay, I know that I'm safe to like 3 Rene. This card's insane. This card's the best card in my deck by far. Every Holy player who says that they don't need to run this card is wrong and lying to themselves. This card is so strong at forcing your opponent to overcommit Imperium. At the end of the day, they can have as many cards in their hand as they want. If they don't have a clean out to Rene, they're losing that game. This card protects me, keeps me safe. There have been turns where I'll play 2 mana for Rene. I'll keep up 8 mana, swing, hit their face. They'll take a turn. They don't have a clean way to out Rene, so they don't want to commit the creatures or they don't want to commit the Imperium. They'll pass. I'll just do it again. I'll hit them and I'll pass again. Like I'll just keep drawing and I'll keep hitting them and I'll keep passing and I'll.
Poor defense.
Yeah, they're never outing this card, and that's actually how I beat. That's essentially how I beat Justin. Is I literally just sat on a Rene and punched him for 4 damage. If you look, I might have it in here somewhere, but I have the damage on a notepad. I hit Justin for 4 damage, probably like 10 times, like over the course of our like last 2 games, and that was the difference maker. And then the 1 Godfrey. I had this card at 2. I was super high on this card. The issue is that when you get into like close games where you're drawing and top decking, this is a combo piece. This isn't a card that like does anything on its own. So I cut it down to 1. When I saw it, it was good. There were games where I was on top deck and I drew it, and I'm like, okay, this is the nail in the coffin. I lose. You could argue to put this to 2 just to like guarantee those big plays, but 1 good is good here. So this is a 43 card main deck, and then the only addition after the fact was an extra sleeping. But again, these come out against evil. So this is just for Holy.
You really wanted sided against evil. I mean, I guess.
So the logic is that like Bone Mac is usually attacking once into something, or like Ghost is attacking once into something. Especially in my deck with my creatures, because all my creatures are really low. You'll see I don't play like any bombs really. Like Rene maybe, but like Pavana's the only bomb, and then like everything else is super low to the ground. So like they're never really ever having to. Evil's never really having to fight to get over my creatures. It just happens naturally. So I take it out for that. Especially because like I said, it's not like I would rather play these against C Passley than Sleeping Potion. So Triple Coffin. Oh, every time. Triple Cosmic. So my evil side was this. This was my evil side every time, every single time. I would take out cats. I would take out the Pavana Dorn. I would take out cats, and I would take out the 3 churches.
No churches?
Yeah. So the logic.
Wow.
The logic behind that is that same reason why I didn't play Babel. One, evil has a really hard time generating value, so they run out of cards pretty quickly and don't have a consistent way like Holy does of like cycling their cards. So if they put triple blast in, those are just dead. Like they can't. There's nothing they can blast in my whole deck. They can't discard it. It just sits there in their hand. So I pretty much tricked them into having dead cards in a deck that needs to have value in all of their cards. And then so pristine. Yeah, I mean, another logic was that with the churches, I would rather just be hard removal. The reduction never mattered against evil. They either had it or they didn't. So the coffins were always just valuable. If I passed with 6 mana, a lot of people didn't see it coming. They would just kind of play into it. But the way for evil to finish games is by overcommitting to the board. They would essentially play a Pasley, pay an Arcog, and they would consider themselves safe. So the pristine coffin just gets that value. If I did this and they contradicted, it's fine because it just means that all of my other removal sticks, right? Like cosmic energy, that you can only play this on your turn, but it's fine because like it's still a quick play on your turn. So if they try to interact with you in a negative way, you just like cosmic energy the outs and you're happy.
That's one of the things I saw you guys winning a lot of trades simply because you had the cosmic. So like even if they were gonna win the trade with like appling whatever you Exodus or something, for example, you would chain cosmic and like do things like stop apple, stop, other various mechanics, just burning the cosmic as the last link in the chain. It's like you won the trades because you had an extra removal that they did.
Yeah, this card is super efficient. Again, it has the downside of not being able to use it on their turn, but like, who cares? Like, most of my interaction is on my turn anyways. Like, oh, sorry, let me re-clarify. A lot of my interaction is on their turn anyways. It's okay for me to play some that only go on mine, right? So, at the end of the day, this I would never change this. My deck struggles against holding board against evil, but it completely destroys Holy. So, none of this comes in against Holy. The logic for Adriel, this is again just for evil. Evil doesn't have access to Divine. So they have 6 cards total that can out this without me getting my Imperium back, which is Exodus and Sleeping Potion. If they're Exodusing this, and actually a lot of people I found out that day are playing 2 Exodus. They're not even playing 3, so it's 5 cards. So Evil just has a worse time removing this than Holy does. I would never play this against Holy. 9 cards that out my Adriel versus I guess 6 in the best case scenario 5. It's just not worth taking that risk. And at the end of the day, every card is just a risk, and I don't want this card to just be another Lightning Blast where I can never play it, right? Like, I want to be able to play all the cards in my hand, and 9 times out of 10 in Holy, I look at this card and I go, I can't even take that risk. Because if I play it and they actually do have the removal, I just lose the game.
Yeah, they exhaust, and then they Bomac it, and then you're dead.
Yeah. So, all right. So this is goofy. I have 2 Pavanas and 1 Blessed Cat in the side. I couldn't say goodbye to the cat. I had to have that third one in there in case I felt like it was necessary. My main deck is positioned for both Holy and Evil. This is like Holy all day. So if I play against a Holy list that I think that is positioned well, but maybe isn't ready for like triple Pavana, I'll just throw the Pavanas in. I'll keep the Dorn in. I'll put the cat in, and it's just Pavana Turbo to get that value. 9 times out of 10, if I had the read that they had like a body or something, I wouldn't use this effect. I would just kill something and then pass, and they would kind of just be like, "What? Okay." Like they would get so confused, but like it works. Like the only way for them to really get it, because most Holy decks aren't even playing chains, so like their only way to really remove it is like Exodus, which still keeps its body on board, or Body Obstruct. Otherwise, they really have to swing over it, and like most Holy lists can't. So that's that, and then 2 more blasts on the side. This actually went in against an Evil matchup that I played round 2. He was playing like armor and weapons, and he was just playing like Evil, like put.
Oh no, that was King probably. He ran some Evil equipped deck.
Yeah. So like I was like, okay, I can't let them like get all that insane value. So I put those in, knowing that like 10 plus cards are targetable with this. I can put this in and not feel bad about it. I think this is just correct. I don't think you can't have 3 lightning blasts somewhere in your list, whether it's 2 in the main, 1 in the side, or 2 in the side, 1 in the main. But either way, it has to happen. And then my last card of choice, which only came up once in the whole tournament, was a Flaming Sword. This card is essentially efficient, the most efficient card for its mana cost when it comes to like power. So 2 mana Flaming Sword to give your hero 2 strength. The only other thing in Holy that does that is Babel, and it costs 5. So like for 2 mana, you're giving your guy 2 strength, which keeps you healthy. And then when you kill something, it pings for 1. Long story short, this card's just used for time. If there's like 5-6 minutes left in the clock, even 10 sometimes, and we're going into a game 3, I'll throw this in, I'll stick it onto my guy, and they won't interact with it because they're like, oh, you're playing Flaming Sword, that card's awful. They won't bolt it, they won't contradict it, they'll just let it sit, and it'll wind up, when it's closer to time and we're like taking turns, they'll realize that like they've gotten chipped like 3 or 4 times by this thing, and I'm healthy, and they're like, oh wait, I've lost. And by the time they've realized they've lost, it's too late.
I'm surprised Joey wasn't running Hellfire because it's like
Was he not?
I
I thought he had 2 Hellfire.
maybe he did.
I thought he had 2 Hellfire on the side. Yeah,
It's kind of similar, and you don't have to get through a soldier to burn them.
yeah, absolutely. That was the same logic. Is that we were like, okay, you keep up a Hellfire, you keep up a Contradict, you wait till the last turn, and you just do both. And like they think they're winning, and they're all confident, and they're like, okay, I pass, and you're just like, boom, take the damage. You can't negate it. I win. And like that's Yu-Gi-Oh coming from us. Yu-Gi-Oh is a big like you burn them in time, you win. It's really unfortunate. And it's something, it's hard, you know what I mean? If you've never like played a big tournament with time rules before, you don't really see that. You don't really realize that it's an issue. But yeah, man, that's my 15 side and my 43 main. That's all I got.
Going into the second tournament, you think you would run a similar deck? You think this is just like the optimal best deck, or try something else?
Yeah, for set 1, I don't really see myself straying away from this. Like, unless I'm seeing people are like playing something that like directly counters this. But even so, I think my only change would be if people recognize that like I'm running a slower deck and they think they can just like blow 10 mana and pass. Maybe I'll put rope in, because I had rope in originally. I have enough creatures to make rope work, just to like give that niche blowout where I can do it. And then worst case scenario, I just use it as a combat trick where if they attack into me, I can rope in damage and they lose their creatures. So, but other than that, no, I think this is gonna sound really arrogant, but like I think this is the best holy list that you can make.
It very well might be. You put a lot of thought into it. You know, definitely some really solid choices. Took people by surprise. Citing Adriel.
Yeah.
You know, like lots of weird stuff that they were not ready for, and it worked.
The cool thing about the list and the deck is that every card has a purpose. Like I'm not just like playing cards to play cards. Like every single like card has a reason why it's here. And I'm not even kidding. I made this deck and like took it apart and remade it like 30 times. Like it was, I would take things out, I'd put things in. It didn't start too different, but I would say like 5-6 cards variants from here and there, and it wound up making the difference. So.
All right. Well, congratulations, Cody.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.